I am so surprised by the overall rating for Space Jam: A New Legacy on IMDb. This has 4.5 out of 10, which for a feature film is not very good, and a Metascore of 36. I loved this film, and I'm coming at this, I guess, from maybe a different perspective to a lot of people, because I'm a very big Warner Brothers animation fan, and I love just Warner Brothers films in general. There are a lot of really great ones, DC, Harry Potter, etc. A lot of these are referenced in the film, but I'm also not a big basketball fan. And while I liked the original Space Jam, I don't hold it in as high regard as some people, and it's not as nostalgic for me. So I'm wondering if the low ratings are from people who, worshipped the first film, which is completely fine, and maybe found that this didn't live up to expectations. But for me personally, I thought it was far superior, and I have valid reasons for thinking that. But I was genuinely surprised by that rating because I loved it. This was released in 2021. It's taken me a bit of a time to get around to seeing it. Directed by Malcolm D. Lee and stars, of course, LeBron James as himself. We also have Don Cheadle as Algae Rhythm, who is Algorithm, and Cedric Joe as Dom. And I have to say, Dom as a character I loved. Dom is LeBron James's son, and in the film, and he wants to create video games, but his father wants him to go to basketball camp and become an athlete, and he doesn't want to do that. And part of the narrative is all about learning to understand that your children are not carbon copies of you. And the most important thing in life is being allowed to be yourself. And that's such a beautiful message. But the narrative also involves a basketball match where Algae Rhythm has, against his will, challenged LeBron James to this basketball match. And LeBron James, in the server, needs to round up all of these different Warner Brothers characters to try and create a decent team for this battle. And I have to say, it's just absolutely wonderful. I'm not going to say what happens any more than that in terms of specifics, but what I will say is, when the film was progressing, I was thinking, okay, the basketball match is going to be coming up. Am I going to lose interest at that point because I don't care for basketball? The short answer is not at all, because first of all, just seeing the Warner Brothers characters that I love is always exciting. But in the background, there are so many Warner Brothers characters. We're not just talking Looney Tunes characters, so many others that even if the game itself I didn't love because of personal preference, there was always something else to look at if I wanted to, and I found that to be such a great way of keeping me engaged, and hopefully other people as well. The only thing I didn't love about it is the animation quality. It's just a little bit too polished and a little bit too modernized. It's a couple of steps away from the more classic Looney Tunes style, and had I never seen a Looney Tunes cartoon, I probably would have thought the style was okay. But I really wish they'd just kept the same style and maybe made it a little less shiny and maybe a little bit more rough around the edges, and that would have been a little bit more satisfying. The music is really great. We have, little bits of other Warner Brothers music in there, and recognizable pieces. The themes are wonderful. The characters are great, particularly Dom, as I said, and LeBron James was obviously giving a really great performance. I found it to be very funny, very entertaining, beautifully edited. The animation, although the style is not to my liking, what we get is absolutely fabulous. The amount of Warner Brothers characters in this is just unreal, and everything fits together so nicely. I really thoroughly adored this film. I prefer it to the first film, and I think that's maybe because just the amount of more Warner Brothers references and characters, and me being older, I can relate to a lot of them, or a lot more of them, but everything about it just worked so well for me, and I just don't understand that rating. I don't expect everybody to love this film, but maybe because I'm coming at it from generally a different perspective of somebody who doesn't care about basketball, who didn't hold the original film in that high regard, I'm aware that my perspective and my expectations are going to be quite different. But personally, I thought A New Legacy was absolutely fantastic. If you've been putting off watching it for any reason, I thoroughly recommend it. Honestly, it's one of the most entertaining films I've seen this year.